Hello all sentient beings and welcome to TransMissions Alt Mode, where we talk all news, comics, and media related to the... In this episode of TransMissions Alt Mode, we are joined by the hosts of the Cybertronological podcast as Charles reviews Transformers vs. Visionaries Issue 2. Hasbro CEO Brian Goldner gets some Hall of Fame status in media news, and What Says I Love You like a Bayformers Valentine's Day cake. Today is Friday, February 9th, 2018, and this is episode 63 of TransMissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to TransMissions Alt Mode, the podcast that's the logical to your Cybertron. Oh, I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent TransMissions team. Yusuf, better known as Yoshi.
Yo!
Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian beast.
Hey everyone, I'm also here. Let's talk Transformers.
You're always here, Daryl. It's not anything new.
Well, ask me that next week.
This might be Daryl's last time on Transmissions.
I don't know if we've had a request for any paid time off.
Well, we do have some special guests again joining us. You should have heard them on the main Transmissions show. If you haven't, why aren't you listening to the main show? We've got Kevin and Adam from the Cybertronological podcast. Thank you guys for joining us again.
You're very welcome. When did we agree to do 2 podcasts and a video segment, Adam?
I'm having a lot more fun than we do on our podcast right now, Kevin.
Well, we didn't take any notes. That helps.
How many sody pops are you deep?
I don't want to admit that.
I don't think that's what they drink.
Keeping it PG, Charles. Keeping it PG.
It's PG right up until the crotch discussions start.
Well, that was the last show. I'm sure there will be no crotch discussion.
Yeah, this is the comic book show. It's a lot more dignified.
Until we get into the Japanese comics.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, definitely you guys should check out Kevin and Adam's podcast, Cybertronological. Go to cybertronological.com. You guys do a chronological exploration of the G1 cartoon. Am I right?
Yeah, we're watching the episodes one by one or reviewing them. We step through the plot. We crack a few jokes. We have our regular segments where we pick dialogue and insane moments and drop those in the show and make GIFs out of them. And we've been having a lot of fun. I think by the time this goes up, episode 93 will have dropped, which means we have 7 left.
Don't forget the fact that we drink a lot of pop.
We do. And then we rate the show based on how much pop we drank. And of course, as we mentioned in the main episode, you guys will be coming on our show again. Most of you were on a very special episode a while back, but you'll be coming on the Pin Ultimate episode.
Yes, we are looking forward to that.
As are we.
And I think we will be discussing part 1 of the Rebirth. Because I think that is the Pen Ultimate episode, as you guys say.
That's the plan.
All right. Well, stay tuned for that. But you can also check us out on a previous episode of Cybertronological where we talked about the Scramble City Japanese exclusive episode. So we will definitely provide a link to that and listen to us on there. But go and listen to the whole back catalog of Cybertronological. All right. Now, before we get into some comics news, we do want to mention our newest Donatreon because it is a doozy. We have been privileged to have Tom B. Long, the Transformers comics letterer extraordinaire. He letters all the IDW Transformers comics. He has become a duly appointed supporter of the Transmissions podcast. And it was for totally altruistic, non-selfish reasons. Thank you, Tom.
What a guy.
By the way, don't listen to the first 5 minutes of Transmissions this week for the real reason that Tom joined. Yeah, Tom, you're a great guy. Thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate it. And it's surprising to hear that Tom actually really listens to the show and listens every week. So thank you, Tom. And I think we're just humbled and proud to have our favorite letterer be a supporter of the show.
We're all just fans of words. When it comes down to it, we're just fans of words, all of us.
Especially certain words.
Yes.
And Todd, not Todd, Tom.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know. It's
Don't
late.
insult Tom that way. Tom, I sincerely apologize. On behalf of the money you gave me, I am truly sorry.
Tom has become eligible for our Patreon mega contest. And we just want to remind you that's coming up later in the year for all the people who have continued to donate to the show, all our Donatreons. We have got lots of prizes ready for you guys to give away. And that includes, but is not limited to, a Masterpiece MP36 Megatron, a CGC 9.8 graded copy of our Talalar 1 #1 Transmissions exclusive cover comic, a Titans Return RC exclusive from HasCon last year, and the Transformers the Movie from 1986 Blu-ray Steelbook. All those plus a few more prizes that we've yet to announce that we're giving away very soon. Well, not very soon, in a few months. You'll see. It's coming. All right, now let's get into some comics news. We've got one news item before we get into the comic review, and this is some interesting news coming out of Japan. Looks like Japan is getting a new release of one of IDW's Transformers comics, and this is coming from way back in 2011. So this is actually the ongoing series before More Than Meets the Eye and Robots in Disguise started, and this is one of the later story arcs of that comic that includes the very popular 2-part issue that is that's from James Roberts, that is Chaos Theory. And Chaos Theory featured a 2-part story which delved into the history of Optimus Prime and Megatron in the IDW universe, told the story of when they first met and what set them on their alternate paths, one becoming the leader of the Autobots and one becoming the leader of the Decepticons. So that is a high point in this contained in this collection of comics, but it also includes several issues before and after that. So the issues 19 through 23, issues 25, 27, and 29 of the ongoing. So that includes there's the story Police Action, which was actually taking place at the same time as the Chaos miniseries, which I guess will be published in another volume or in a future volume, and then the few issues leading up to Chaos Theory. So I think it's cool to see this put in the Japanese market. It's going to be, I assume, translated into Japanese so everyone can read it in their native language. And the art, this image for the cover is really cool. I mean, you've got Hot Rod there front and center carrying the Matrix. This is from one of the storylines where he was stranded on a planet and he met up with Wheelie and some aliens there. And you've got Galvatron and Optimus Prime in the background. It's just a really cool image. So
I'm glad you mentioned the art because when this story dropped, Neurowing in the Discord channel mentioned that the art was done by Kazumas Yazukuni. I butchered it, but he's a Takara package artist and has done the art on some of the Legends figures on their packaging. So in the same thread in the comics Discord channel, he put up some examples. So he did the bio card for the Legends Blitzwing figure and the pack-in card for Masterpiece Sunstreaker, which is some really interesting, really great art. But I love this image on the cover of this Chaos Theory book.
Yeah, it's really striking and really, really just a really interesting image, and it captures a lot of what goes on in those sets of issues there.
I love that Rodimus has it on a chain, has the Matrix on a chain.
Yeah. Well, it's a callback to the 86 movie where Galvatron had it on the chain. So.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah. Rodimus just needed a little bling.
Yeah.
And this is technically he is still Hot Rod in the comics here. Like this is before he got like in the comics he hasn't actually born the Matrix to become Rodimus Prime. He's just kind of changed his name to Rodimus as kind of an aspirational thing, I guess.
Well,
okay.
Trademark issues.
Yeah, but they got the Hot Rod trademark back already. So anyway, we're getting off into the weeds, but for all the Japanese Transformers comics fans, you've got something good coming your way. So I don't know. I don't know when the news story doesn't mention when this is coming out, but I think it'll be soon. All right, and with that, let's get into our comic review.
Transmissions is powered by listeners like you. If you enjoy our shows and want to help support us, please visit transmissionspodcast.com/support to find out how to donate.
All right, so the comic review we've got for this episode is Transformers vs. Visionaries #2, Cybertron No More. Written by Magdalene Visaggio, art by Fico Asio, colors by David Garcia Cruz, letters by Sean Lee, edited by Sarah Gatos and David Marriott, and published by Greg Goldstein. So first we're going to look at these covers. We've got 3 covers for this issue. The first one is by Fico Asio, and that shows New Prismos surrounded by Transformers looking menacingly at it. Looks like Tankor, Ironhide, Breakdown, Wheeljack, and Waspinator. So maybe that's a hint of the cast of characters we're getting in this comic. The second cover is by Philip Murphy, and it's a throwback to the original Visionaries, and it shows their incarnations from the old cartoon from the 80s. And yeah, not really any Transformers visible on that comic cover, but I digress. And the retailer incentive cover by Brendan Cahill with colors by Lauren Bennett. And this is another shot of Darkling Lord leader Viralina with Ironhide looking very much in his G1 incarnation in the background there. So, Daryl, I'm going to start with you. Which of these covers do you like the best?
I am going to have to say I like Fico's. It looks good and it's consistent with the style that he did in the first one. But I think I'm going to go with Brendan's. It's a really nice cover, and the Transformer on it looks good.
Cool. Adam, which cover do you think would be your pick if you were to buy this issue in the comic shop?
I think I'm going to have to go with the first one. I really enjoy the way it looks. It doesn't really give you much detail on exactly what's going on. It's kind of like mysterious, so I kind of enjoy it.
Cool. All right, Kevin, which cover are you picking?
Well, I am going to go with, I think you said it was the retailer incentive one, the one that just shows Ironhide and Viralina.
Yes.
I especially like her kind of pose there. It's very menacing, and if you had already read issue 1, you might wonder, like, oh, is she about to come after Ironhide right this second?
Cool. And Yoshi, which cover are you picking?
I'm going to have to go cover B, Philip Murphy.
Oh, really? Throwback Visionaries.
Yeah. I just like that art style. I mean, I think something about the border for one invokes nostalgia, but just the whole thing is cartoony and awesome.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, what about you?
I'm going with Brendan's. I like his art, and it's the most consistent to the way I like my Transformers. I'm still not a huge fan of the way Fico draws them.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to go with the majority and also pick the retailer incentive by Brendan Cahill and Lauren Bennett. Yeah, that's definitely is my pick for these 3 covers here. All right. So let's get into the story and then we'll talk about this issue. We start with the aftermath of issue number 1. Darkling Lord leader Viralina has just murdered Cup, declaring war on the Transformers. Ironhide flees the visionary city of New Prismos and contacts Cybertron's Central Security to warn them of the imminent threat. Viralina and her comrade Sindar return to Merklin's chamber to find he has similarly dispatched the Cybertronians who were guarding him. He applauds Viralina's actions as they are the first step to conquering Cybertron and assuring the survival of New Prismos. However, Leoric, leader of the Spectral Knights, is horrified. He wanted to make peace with the Transformers for both species' sake, but that appears impossible now. Merklin ignores his concerns and encourages Viralina to address the people of Prismos and lead them forward. She does, declaring to a cheering crowd that Cybertron and all the Transformers will soon be history. Elsewhere in the city, at the Spectral Knights headquarters, Leoric gathers his loyal knights to plan a counter-revolution. But even one of his own, Arzon, isn't convinced. The people of this city are the last survivors of Prismos. If Viralina succeeds, then the future of their civilization is secure. But Leoric counters that if they let Viralina win, she'll commit genocide to achieve that future. The Spectral Knights can't condone destroying another people just to save their own. Arzon and the others agree, and the Spectral Knights are united in their decision to stop Viralina. Meanwhile, Viralina starts the next phase of her plan. She orders her fellow Darkling Lords to prepare to destroy the pylons that power the force field, sealing their underground city off from the rest of Cybertron. As the crowd of Prismosian City citizens cheer her on, she declares that when the shield is down, they will be free to take over Cybertron. But just as Viralina gives the order to begin, the Darkling Lords are confronted by the Spectral Knights. Witterquick uses his super speed to stop Kravix at Pylon 1. Galadriel's Narwhal Totem confronts Sindar's Gorilla Totem at Pylon 3. And Ektar throws down with Lexor at Pylon 2. At first, it looks like the Spectral Knights have the upper hand, but while they may be convinced they are morally right in opposing Viralina's genocidal plan, the citizens of New Prismos are not. The regular citizens have been convinced by Viralina's words that it's them or the Cybertronians. The crowd turns on the Spectral Knights, forcing them to flee their own people. Watching from the tower above the city, Viralina revels in the fact that the city has turned on the Spectral Knights and embraced her rule. As she watches the 3 pylons being destroyed, she looks forward to the next step of confronting and destroying the Cybertronians. But Leoric hasn't given up yet. He confronts Viralina and Merklin directly. Viralina isn't impressed by his challenge, and she's ready for this fight. Her Shark Totem confronts Leoric's Lion Totem for an epic battle. Leoric's Lion struggles valiantly, but Viralina's Shark gets the upper hand and defeats him. As Leoric collapses back to human form, Merklin declares the matter over, and Viralina's victory is complete. But there's still some fight in Leoric, and he turns on Merklin himself. But it's no use. Merklin is the master of the Visionaries' magic, and with a wave of his hand, he blasts Leoric with a burst of magical energy. Leoric collapses in defeat as Merklin and Viralina turn their back on him. Meanwhile, Ironhide gets back to the Cybertronian Command Center to deliver his warning. He tells Wheeljack and Breakdown that the Prismosian fleshling murdered Cup, and they're coming for the rest of Cybertron. They have to stop them at all costs. But Wheeljack doesn't have good news. After examining Breakdown's arm that was destroyed last issue, Wheeljack's learned that the Cybertronians are particularly vulnerable to the Visionaries' magic. To make matters worse, the talisman artifact that Merklin activated is continuing to burrow towards the core of Cybertron. It works on the same magic, and no Cybertronian can get near it without being destroyed by its power. At this rate, it will reach Vector Sigma at the core of the planet in 2 days, and then it's game over. But the Autobots receive help from the most unexpected source, the renegade Spectral Knights. Ironhide, enraged at the death of his friend, is ready to put them in prison for war crimes. But Leoric tells him he's not the enemy. He and the Spectral Knights want to stop Viralina's plans for conquest and find a way to peace for both species. Ironhide still doesn't trust them, but he's out of options. The Spectral Knights might be the only ones able to stop the talisman from making the planet unlivable for Transformers, and they've only got 2 days to do it. Ironhide agrees to an alliance with Leoric with the standard threat of death if Leoric betrays them. Back in the Visionary City, Merklin crowns Viralina Chancellor of New Prismos. She's won the hearts and minds of the Prismosians, and her victory over the Spectral Knights is complete. To the cheers of the crowd, she declares it's time for Prismos to take over the planet Cybertron by destroying every last Transformer on it. To be continued. So this was a very, I mean, I know this is supposed to be Transformers versus Visionaries, but I feel like the Visionaries definitely are taking center stage. We did mention, I think we mentioned last week, that there are a couple of interviews that went up with the writer, Magdalene Visaggio. And in particular, listening to the Moonbase 2 interview, it seemed like she was very excited to get the chance to kind of reimagine the Visionaries on her own terms. You know, they were kind of a blank slate to her. So she's very much put the focus on them, and the Transformers are kind of the secondary, actors in this project. So definitely could feel that. I mean, the Transformers were not in most of the issue. It was mostly about the Visionaries' internal conflict. But I mean, I think the story for that part was really good. I enjoyed seeing the two factions of the Visionaries square off. I think the art was really good for all the Visionaries characters. I still am not a fan of Fico Assio's work on the Transformers characters. So maybe the fact that there weren't that many Transformers in the book was actually, made this book a little bit stronger, given that I just didn't like that art style. But overall, it's I'm interested to see where this crossover goes. I mean, I think the Visionaries as a property haven't really gotten a lot of development, so I'm curious to see where this will go. Kevin and Adam, I don't know how much you've gotten into the IDW Transformers comics, in the last few years, but maybe you can tell us what your thoughts are on the Transformers comics in general, and just this Visionary series in particular, since I know you got a chance to read issue 1 before reading issue 2. So what do you think so far?
Well, I did read the IDW series for a little while. I stopped several years ago. I hope I'm not about to just alienate your audience. I found them to be overly wordy. They were just like the most densely dialogue laden comic books on the market as far as anything I was reading, and it got to be a little too much for me. So I was pleasantly surprised that this one's not as just 55 word balloons per page as I feel like they used to be. And I will say that overall, I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to, because before I started reading it, I pulled up on YouTube a commercial for the Visionaries toys, and as soon as I saw it, I remembered them, and I remembered that they sucked. So I was not really excited about reading this, but I'm glad that they've really redesigned them and taken them in a new direction. Cool.
Adam, what did you think?
So Transformers comics, I've read a little bit here and there through the years. It's so hard to keep up with comics nowadays and try and keep track. It's ridiculous. But when I dove into this issue 1, I thought was decent. I could tell it was a lot of story building, but this issue was like, it just jumped in. I was shocked. Just issue 2, they just jumped in and there was a lot of action. There was a lot of battling. There was a lot of, just people just butting heads and everything. I really enjoyed it. And I didn't think I was going to like the Visionaries after I read issue 1, but issue 2, I have to say, I think I'm on the Visionary side. It's kind of weird.
And after issue 1 was like, well, first of all, I had to read the TF Wiki entry on First Strike or whatever it was called, because I had no idea what was going on. And then issue 1 was like setting up so much stuff that when you got into issue 2 and they were able to advance the plot a bit, I thought it was a much easier going. But I do totally see what you guys are saying about the way this artist draws the Transformers. It is a little more cartoony than I would prefer.
Yeah, and this artist actually did the Revolution crossover from 2016, and that was his first, official Transformers comics work. And yeah, we were really not on board with his art style back then.
He has improved.
Yeah. But I mean, he draws the human characters really well, and all the designs for the Visionaries, I think, are really well done. So
absolutely, I do on our Twitter feed see images of comics and comics covers, and I think there's some great Transformers artwork being done right now in the comics.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that this one leaned more towards cartoonish.
Mm-hmm. All right, Yoshi, what are your thoughts on this issue?
I'm having a lot of trouble buying into the story, and this shouldn't be a surprise to you or anybody else. This universe that they are creating with all of these Hasbro properties, one is hard for me to swallow, and it sounds childish, but it's the truth. Like I just have a hard time accepting the fact that the Transformers are scared of these guys. It's different, Charles. I don't like different.
Well, I mean, I think they've set it up pretty well in the sense that if you remember the Visionaries at all, I mean, the thing that was their selling point was that in their world, technology had stopped and magic had to come back. So the idea that their magic is kind of like an opposing force to any technology, I think, is a nice callback to the original property.
Sure, but the book's titled Transformers versus Visionaries, or Visionaries versus Transformers. It doesn't matter. It feels like the first, and I didn't get through them all because I wasn't on the show, but it feels like the first how ROM versus Transformers started. Like, this is a Visionaries book guest starring the Transformers. It doesn't feel like they're certainly not getting equal page time, and they're just trying to slam in your face as hard as they can. And they might have to. There might not be any other way around it, but they just are really making us choke down how powerful the Visionaries are page after page. And I'm not buying it yet.
I think they kind of have to, though, because,
sure,
who knows anything about the Visionaries? So they have to introduce them and introduce them as a, viable threat at the same time. So
and I probably could have swallowed it easier if there was a Visionaries book for a few issues and then the Transformers had a couple issue guest starring appearance.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
But it seems like, let's put as many titles as we can on the cover because we'll sell more issues that way. Or we're just going to piggyback off the popularity that is the Transformers. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, which is fine.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't, if you're interested, I would encourage you to go listen to that Moonbase 2 interview that the writer did, because she does mention how the process did get constrained for her. Like, originally when they asked her to pitch a story, they originally said she had a little bit more freedom, but then when they actually gave her the story, it was like, you get like basically these 5 Transformers characters. You have freedom with the Visionaries, but you can only use these 5 Transformers characters in the story. So I think she felt like she should focus on the Visionaries and build up that property since there wasn't a lot there.
I don't fault the writer. From issue 1, we've heard that she was doing things she wouldn't actually have done. So I don't fault her for this. I fault IDW directly, or Hasbro, or both of them. This is not her fault that she was dealt this hand. So whatever protection spell you can put on her, this is the problem with the book. And whether it was IDW that said you had to do it this way, or Hasbro, or both, or whatever, fuck them, because I'm not enjoying it. So there you go.
Fair enough. All right, Daryl, what are your thoughts?
Well, I didn't mind the book all that much, actually. I did notice that it was a Visionaries heavy book, and I was thinking maybe I should count the pages and figure out, how long has it been since we actually saw a Transformer in this thing? But I'm assuming this is a 5-parter.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming that we're getting a bit of a back and forth here. I assume next issue will be almost more of a 50-50 split. Maybe 60-40, whatever. I know that this is going to be, because I did listen to that Moonbase 2 interview, and I do know that it will be a lot more Visionaries heavy, but I didn't mind it all that much. And Yeah, so it was okay. I didn't mind the world building. I know jack squat about Visionaries. I did feel that they might have introduced too many characters in this as far as the Visionaries go, because I lost track of who was who. But maybe they do have a bit of a time limit here on how many they can get out in a certain amount of time. But I definitely lost track of the amount of characters. The amount of or the art was really good. I liked it, and I mean, the Transformers, like Jeremy said, are getting way better. So I do applaud Fico for his efforts on getting better. But I want to say that whoever was carrying around Cup's head at the beginning, that was messed up, man. Yeah, but I didn't mind it all that much. I mean, it could have been better, but I mean, the part I was telling you guys at the beginning when they started fighting, they kind of like growled at each other and were in these battle stances. Then all of a sudden pulled out these signposts and stuck them in the ground and then did nothing. They just had these little, dream animals or whatever jump out of the signs and go and fight each other. And yeah, I know you explained it to me that they kind of embody the dream animals or whatever, and then they fight each other that way. But I just thought it was funny that they looked like they were about to go physically fight each other, and then they didn't. So, yeah.
Bulbasaur, go! I choose you.
You're saying Pokemon is a Visionaries ripoff.
There you go.
You heard it here first. All right, Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
I agree with a lot of what Daryl was saying. I think this was a good comic. I mean, it's like what I said before to Yoshi, that they're having to introduce pretty much Visionaries. Like, no one really remembers, outside of like a small handful of people, no one really remembers anything about Visionaries. So they're having to introduce that whole concept, introduce them as a threat. And, like we said last time, the fact that they killed Cup isn't really the issue that we had with it. It was just everything surrounding it, like the whole letter, like editorial letter and stuff. So I'm over the fact that they actually killed Cup. And, I see that they had to establish the Visionaries as an actual threat to the Transformers. So I liked seeing the conflict within the Visionaries, like setting up the Spectral Knights as, not towing the line with the rest of them. And then the twist of having the populace actually support the Darkling Lords. I thought that was handled really well. So, I mean, I enjoyed this. I'm waiting to see kind of, I am interested in seeing where this ends up after this miniseries is over. One thing I wanted to point out, like, we've commented about the art. The humanoid characters are done well, but the lettering. This isn't Tom B. Long, so I mean, it has that knock against it. But Sean Lee, I thought, did a really good job, particularly like where the crowd was yelling Virulina's name, and the way that he did that, I thought that was presented really well, where the text, like, from the crowd was just really huge. So anyway, that I'm actually looking forward to issue 3. I didn't think I would say that after issue 1.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, and I mean, I would, based on this, I would just buy a Visionaries comic. So, like, just a Visionaries miniseries with this team on it. I mean, I think they could, and apparently, I mean, we'll have to wait for, like, to see what the Comic-Con sales are. But we did talk about how the first issue apparently sold out and had to go into a second printing. So, if the sales sustain it, maybe there will be a future Visionary series. I don't know.
Do you guys think a good idea would be to ultimately get New Prismos separated from Cybertron and just have it be a separate thing altogether?
Yeah,
I would prefer that.
Yeah, I figured.
It's like, you got your Visionaries in my Transformers. You got your Transformers in my Visionaries.
I mean, that's assuming that they don't kill the entire planet and all the Transformers, and they're just in the line of Transformers comics. That's always a possibility.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to see that. I mean, I'm happy with some aspects of this whole shared universe. Like the ROM stuff has been pretty good. And then they did the ROM versus Transformers crossover, which was excellent. And that's kind of how I like it, where these things all exist and occasionally they interact with each other. So I'm hoping that's the outcome of this, is New Prismos shows up somewhere else and occasionally they'll interact with it.
Yeah. But yeah, so unless there are any other comments, I think that'll do it for our review of Transformers versus Visionaries #2. And we will move on to some Transformers media news.
All right, in media news today, we've got not a lot of topics, but one, the Hasbro CEO Brian Goldner was inducted into the Licensing Industry Merchandisers Association Hall of Fame. I guess that's a thing. Okay, cool. It was done on the basis of the brand blueprint, which started with the 2007 live action Transformers movie. Good job, Brian, I guess. I guess you definitely got more people talking about the brand, which is cool. And we appreciate that. Now just make the movies good. That's all we want.
Maybe he has a long-term plan. It's all going the way he wants it to go.
5 movies in, that seems like a tall order to suddenly expect from them.
Uh-huh. Next up, we've got Haley Steinfeld from the Bumblebee movie. Apparently is performing songs on the movie as well. So the Bumblebee movie became a musical? All right, cool. I guess.
Can't make it worse.
Well, it looks like she's hinting that it's 80s covers because that movie's set in the 80s. So
might as well. Yep. I could deal with some 80s music. I like 80s music. Yeah.
And she's a singer.
She is a singer. So, yeah. Oh, well, we know we'll go watch it, but it's starting to look, worse here. Travis, Mr. Knight, the director. We had a lot of hope here, and now you've got Haley singing, and I don't know. And lastly, Jeremy, why don't you take this one? This is Beast Wars. I don't know anything about Beast Wars at all.
Okay, this is there's a group called the Kariudo Fan Subs group, and they have done subbed versions of a number of Japanese series, including Zone, Beast Wars 2, Beast Wars Metals, which was actually I think the US series taken there, Car Robot, stuff like that. They have announced that they are doing Beast Wars Neo, and the way that they do it is they don't just like piece it out. They do the whole thing and they release it all at once. So they're saying in late 2018 they will be releasing Beast Wars Neo fan subbed. So this I'm kind of excited. I've never gotten into the Japanese series, and I want to use this as an opportunity to dig into that. But they say it's been taking so long because it's a passion project. They have real lives too. And they have like everything in place to do it. And they're targeting late 2018 rather than a specific date, just so they, it'll be easier to make that. So yeah, I mean, it's Beast Wars. The Japanese Beast Wars series were all like traditional animated, not the CGI animated. And they have different cast of characters, and like you have Lio Convoy, and I think that's the only character I really know. So like I said, I'm going to be using this as an opportunity to get into the Japanese Beast Wars series.
All right. So that's all for media news, and let's move on to some transforming pop culture. So I found this. This is I think we talked about this maybe last year, that in Japan, Transformers cakes are a thing, and looks like they're bringing these out again for Valentine's this year. What doesn't say Valentine's like a cake with movieverse Transformers on them, or cookies or macaroons. So
I think it's more speaking towards a divorce.
I want this cake with movie Megatron saying "Happy Valentine." That says a lot.
I love you, beautiful, beautiful humans.
What is love, flesh creature?
What is that last cake? What is that? Squeaks? Is
Yeah.
on that?
Yes, that is Squeaks. Yes.
Oh boy.
The Japanese are a strange people.
It's not even any G1 characters on here, or other. I won't even say not G1, but non-movieverse characters. They're just movie characters. So
These don't even like, these do not look like tasty cakes to me. And I mean, French style bakeries are pretty popular in Japan, so you can get really good cakes and other treats. So the fact that these look so unappealing is kind of shocking.
Well, I mean, maybe they're trying to match the movie that they come from.
That would make sense.
You know, it's licensed stuff. But hey, it's a movie thing, and you can say this literally transforms into poop.
I like what you did there.
And on that note, let's move on to some convention news.
All right. We mentioned this in Transmissions a couple days ago, but it bears repeating for alt mode. TF Nation 2018 ticket sales are open. So if you are planning on heading over to Birmingham, England on August 17th through 19th, you should get your tickets. They have they're £60 for the full weekend, including Friday, and Saturday and Sunday are £35 and £30 respectively. And if you want to go to the Stan Bush concert, it's an additional £15 for the full weekend, or $20 if you're going to be there on Saturday. So it really it benefits you to just get the full weekend. And they're going to have, a number of guests, and as we mentioned, Stan Bush. So check it out if you're going to be there. And if you're not going to be there like us, you can just, come and cry with us, because it's going to be a fun weekend. And that's all we got for convention news and alt mode.
All right. Well, let's finish up the show with some feedback.
All right, and I want to remind everybody, if you head over to transmissionspodcast.com/feedback, you can leave us a voicemail. You can leave us an email. You can leave us a comment. You've got multiple ways to leave us feedback, so please check that out. And we've got some feedback today from Jimmers with some pretty cool information. Jimmers writes, "Gentlemen, Haken is a progressive metal band signed to the Inside Out label. The song 1985 is taken from their 2016 album, titled Affinity. While not my style of music, I do have great respect for the metal genre and its rabid, supportive fan base. There are no electro-industrial leanings here, so it's kind of disqualifies it from Respect the Prime Volume 2. Speaking of, I'm hoping to have a 4-song limited teaser EP ready to go for TFCon Chicago." Which is really cool, guys, because if I remember correctly, Jimmers donates every penny of this to cancer research. So
yes,
this is he's put out 2 albums so far, and I've bought both of them because it's for a good cause, and I'll definitely pick up this EP as well.
Yeah, me too.
Have our guests? Have you guys heard of this?
No, I have no idea what's going on. What is this? This is
What the hell?
Is an album that this guy puts out. What is this?
The first album was a tribute or a reimagining or however you want to say, covers of the original 1986 movie soundtrack, done with more metal bands. So it's a really good album. I've listened to it several times. The reimagining of the songs sound really good. The art on the album is done by comic book artists that work on Transformers. And every penny he makes on this, he donates to cancer research.
This is called Respect the Prime. That's the name of the album.
That's the name of the album.
Wow, this sounds right up our alley.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is it on vinyl? Adam wants to know if it's on vinyl.
It is not. No.
I love how he speaks for me. Adam wants to know, like Adam can't speak.
Yeah. Just to clarify, the music isn't metal. It's industrial and like synth pop, right. Or not synth pop. It's like synth. So it's like it's like 9 Inch Nails type music.
You bought me.
I want you to know, Daryl, somewhere Jimmers is screaming his head off right now.
I just gotta say,
don't take our word for it. Go listen to the previews on Amazon.com or
it's on Spotify. You can stream the whole thing on Spotify as well.
But definitely buy it out. Support a good cause.
It's I think his website's distortionproduction.com or distortionprod.com.
Yeah, distortion.
We'll put a link to it. to it.
Sounds great.
So,
I'm glad we discovered this. I mean, we didn't discover, you know what I mean.
We do. We know that you hate cancer and you're going to do everything you can to fight it.
Fuck cancer.
Straight.
And Charles, that's it for feedback this week, sir.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end of the show.
No.
I know, Yoshi. It's sad, but try to make it through the rest of the week.
I want to compliment you on the comic review. It was awesome. I know that wasn't easy, but thank you for doing it.
You're welcome, Yoshi. All right. I again want to thank our friends, Kevin and Adam from Cybertronological, for hanging out with us all this week.
It was a blast, and we're looking forward to having you guys back on our show.
I can't wait. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I also want to give a thanks to Daryl for organizing everything, because behind the scenes, Daryl really worked hard to get everything set up, and then he got sick at the last minute and still powered through our whole recording session.
I'm good to keep going. We're about to start alt mode, right?
we're doing the Transmissions extra you put together.
Oh, awesome. Okay, good. It's on Sesame Street. Okay. Big Bird is too big.
No, Wheelie is too big. I thought we talked about this.
We'll be having funeral arrangements for Daryl soon, so we'll get the address for where you send flowers and condolences because.
Won't you feel bad if I actually die this week? Oh my God.
I would feel bad anyway if you actually died this week, Daryl. I guess I would feel even worse now, but yeah.
Oh man, you just doomed me, you son of a bitch.
I put together an album of covers of songs from the 1986 Transformers movie, but done in the style of polka, and all of the proceeds would go to your funeral proceedings.
I would buy a polka version of this song.
Somebody get Weird Al on the phone.
Cheapest funeral ever.
But anyway, no, Daryl's not going to die. Crossing fingers.
Nope. You're stuck with me.
Yeah, so thanks to the Cybertronological guys. Check out their podcast, cybertronological.com. And we have links in the show notes for both shows, so you should be able to find it. We'll also link to their Twitter and all that good stuff, so you can find them on social media. And stay tuned for us showing up on their show too. So we will definitely let you guys know when that happens. And thanks guys for hanging out, and thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye now.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Transmissions. Remember, you can help support the show by donating to us directly via Patreon or PayPal. Once you become a donor, you will receive access to donor-only goodies, like donor-only contests, listening to us record Transmissions live, and getting Transmissions swag at 20% off. You can find links for this at transmissionspodcast.com/support. Subscribing to us on Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play is also a great way to support us here at Transmissions. Every subscription we get helps us get better noticed on those services. Leaving us a comment and 5-star review doesn't hurt either. Be sure to come chat with us on Discord. You will find a link for Discord at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. And of course, you can always send us an email at feedback@transmissionspodcast.com. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Don't polka your eye out.
Is it supposed to hurt to blink?
No. Okay. Daryl's on life support, so we got to get through quickly before he dies. Okay.
Daryl, do you need someone else to handle media news?
Give it to Kevin and Adam.
I'm on it. What's media news?
Welcome to Oh shit! I didn't do an intro.